Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Yeah, 7:02.
Thanks, everybody. It's an honor to call to order this meeting of the Town of Poughkeepsie Town
Somebody has their,
Board.
because
I
you're.
can hear myself twice, or three times. In
There we go.
workshop session tonight, we won't be taking votes, but we'll hear some presentation and have some discussion. And we will begin with a salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's have a roll call.
Okay, good evening, Bill Reuter, First Ward.
Hi, good evening. This is Barbara Laird, a second ward.
Mike Sifone, Fourth Ward.
Ann Berger's joining us by Zoom, so she is listening in tonight from the third ward.
Ryan Sharp, Fifth Ward, good evening.
Ann Shershin, 6th ward. Felicia Salvatore, town clerk.
And we didn't need an attorney tonight. Did you want to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you when you were introducing yourself.
Oh, no, Mike Sifone, Fourth Ward.
All right, Rebecca Edwards, Town Supervisor. Okay, we are going to have 3 presentations this evening. And I think before that, I should move to open suspend the regular rules for anyone who might want to speak on agenda items tonight. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so then anyone who might want to speak on any item on the agenda tonight. I have been reading through the agenda, but I talked with the legal office this afternoon, and it looks like those folks who are in the room, I can just let you know that agendas are on the table outside the door if you want to grab one, and people who've joined us on Zoom, the Zoom link is on the agenda page, so people should have the agenda and be able to follow along. Is there anyone who wants to speak on any item that's on tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none, I move that we return to regular session.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, then return to regular session, and we'll begin by welcoming Boomi Environmental to give us a report on the New Hamburg flood study. And our Director of Municipal Development, Mr. Mike Welty.
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. So I did want to just take a minute to provide a little background on this study. It seems like we've been working on it for quite a long time, but actually the amount of time that we've been really working on the project has only been just over a year. But the grant was awarded in 2021. And it wasn't until April of 2023 that we actually had a contract with New York State DEC for this project. So we did kick off the meeting with the DEC in September of 2023. The town board established a steering committee made up of residents from New Hamburg in November of 2023. And we selected our consultant and got into contract with them in February of 2024. So it's really just been over a year. So I feel a little bit better about it now when I put it in that way. But so Boomi Environmental is on. We have Shri and Zoe, I believe, are on, and they're going to give you just a short summary of this work. I also see that our contact from the New York State DEC Estuary Program, Scott Cuppett, is on. They are the funders of this work, and we thank them very much for the funds. And Kristen Taylor, senior planner, who's part of my staff, who also work with me on this. So I'll turn it over to Shri to give you the 10-slide overview of this project.
Good evening, town board members. It's my honor to present the summary or findings of this study and the recommendations that we have made in the form of a report that was submitted to the town last week. And this is more like an executive summary of that study report. Is everyone able to see or hear me clearly, and also see the screen that I'm sharing here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry, the slides are not advancing as fast as I want them to. Okay. Just to define the study area and the problem understanding, because we are a Hudson River community, the riverine water level increases that often happen with the wind or even some surges from hurricane events, propagating from the coastal side all the way to inland here. And then in combination with intense rains, they have been the problem factors for the frequent flooding that we see in the hamlet. Some of the recent flooding events were reported at the White's Marina, Riverfront Park, River Road, Water Street, and neighboring homes in the backyards and so on. That's under the current conditions. And under the climate change related increases in Hudson River water level, predicted by several research entities in New York, and also the increase in precipitation patterns are likely to exacerbate this frequency and severity of flooding in the future. So given these considerations, the town applied for this grant and got it from the DEC's Hudson River Estuary Program that Mike introduced first. And then it's primarily to identify what we can do as potential interventions to mitigate the flooding risks in the hamlet. So these are some historic events that you may recall, very recent in the last year to year and a half that you may recall. So we designed a flood study approach, first of all, in consultation with the steering committee. They were very resourceful in terms of, having some photographs of these historic events that caused extensive flooding, and also to pinpoint where the problems were more severe, based on their recollection of the actual flooding events, as well as some photographs. So we started off with a compilation of all the data available. First, we started off the most resourceful, steering committee, as well as the town staff, engineering, as well as the planning, had extensive amounts of data on the stormwater collection systems. And then we also collected the drainage system, as well as the pertinent data like, topography, impervious cover, and so on, from several public sources, including the Dutchess County and also the New York State GIS, Geographic Information System Clearinghouse. With these, we identified what the potential data gaps were in the existing system information, and then we performed a phase 1 survey, which was like a course reconnaissance of the study area with the goal of filling up some holes in the data. And the steering committee was again very helpful. They walked through the town with us, and I believe that DEC contacts were present as well. So we looked at and then filled in some data, and then some additional data that required a formal survey firm to perform the data compilation. We hired a subcontractor to do that only in the flood study zones that were selected for the intervention planning design. So these were identified from the discussions with the committee. The New Hamburg Yacht Club, and then along that neighborhood, along that vicinity, and then the riverfront park, and then the vicinity along the railroad, as well as the Main Street, and then the very close to River Road itself. That when the Hudson River rises, it not only floods but also brings in a lot of debris that gets deposited, and then the town had to clean up. So these were identified as the primary, we called it hotspots, like frequently flooding areas. There are some areas that had experienced previous flooding, but, for example, right after the Hurricane Sandy, the fuel farm, Botany Fuel, they put a large perimeter wall around. that's an example of how the intervention would look like. Basically, a berm that would help to prevent, the Hudson River flows from coming inland. So the next step is to identify what sort of interventions would be appropriate, and also what are the benefits that we would get with different types of interventions. We need a hydrologic model to do that. And so based on the compilation of existing as well as additional survey data, we constructed the model of the entire study area that is shown in red outline here. So the storm sewer system itself is modeled as a one-dimensional, within like a piped system. And then we also have overlaid it with a topographic model that characterizes how the water flows over land, that causes, flow accumulation in the low spots, what we call as bowls, and then create flooding risks around that area. And then once we constructed this model, we performed model validation for 5 flooding events that we got the data for, anecdotal data for from the steering committee, and then went into the intervention planning. As I started off with the Botany fuel, the first thing that we evaluated was what can we do to protect the hamlet, some of the hotspots from riverine inundation. So that was a berm, which I'll talk briefly about, as to what types we are looking at. And then that only prevents the Hudson River riverine flooding. But then if there is intense rain that's happening inland, then we need protection from that also. So we have developed some interior drainage mitigation interventions to protect the hamlet from rain-related flooding. I want to say also, although this is put in as step number 6 in the study approach, I want to say this has been from the day we were interviewed in December of 2023 and got selected for the project. We have been communicating with the steering committee. They have been the most resourceful members, not only documenting, what has happened in the past, but also we had 2 meetings to talk about the mitigation strategies. There was a lot of practical insights or questions that they asked that made us to go back and then think about what could be more realistic or implementable in this community. We also looked at other Hudson River communities that have been doing similar resiliency work in the last, 4 or 5 years, just to kind of maintain some sort of consistency in the thinking process, and also accounting for the climate change related impacts. We looked at what other communities have done, and then developed a strategy that's quite consistent with that. So the community specific considerations that were given to us were like we need protection from riverine flood, interior flood, with the intense rains. The project should be qualifying for grants from federal sources or state sources. Implementation costs, that should be a little bit more realistic, not involve hundreds of millions of dollars, when we are looking at things, maybe on a longer term. Those are the costs that could be in front of many of the Hudson River communities, but at least we want to look at things more realistically, what could be done immediate in the near future versus longer term. And then operation and maintenance requirements that the town will have to undertake, for these interventions that we come up with. Some additional considerations were expressed by the committee as well, in terms of erosion risk reduction in the coastline, habitat improvement, water quality improvement, regulatory permitting feasibility, especially when we talk about berm and so on. It's near the water line, it requires DEC permitting. And then the project constructability, how long it would take. how much it would cost, many considerations or questions like that. So just a quick summary of the phase 1 survey. We actually walked the town with our hamlet area with the steering committee as well as the town staff, opened up some catch basins, looked at outfalls, and then basically, these are the lines that you see here are the drainage infrastructure that the town provided, and we identified some holes, and then we went in to see, what is happening at this outfall. Are we able to trace, what is draining to that outfall? That's our information gathering. And then once we completed that initial one, and then the formal survey as part of phase 2, now we went with the intervention planning strategies. We did a lot of research on what other Hudson River communities are doing, and also the guidance from DEC, and research institutions like Cornell, to see what's going on in our region with respect to future climate. What kind of design parameters or criteria should be chosen? So in addition, the steering committee also provided guidance on, the interventions, they should preferably be nature-based, not like huge engineering structures. If they also can be like green infrastructure that can add ecosystem values, aesthetics and so on, in addition to serving the primary purpose of flood mitigation. And then focus on the elimination of chronic flooding in the near future, but they should be scalable enough in the future when we are looking at 2050s or 2080s or 2100s into the future. So it starts slow and more manageably, but the goal should always be looking at how we can scale this up when future demands more solutions or more interventions. And also the intervention should preferably be in the public property or in the right of way, so that there are more public benefits, and also they would more likely qualify for the state or federal grants more easily as opposed to private lots. So there's a lot of information here, but I want to really simplify that. So on the left-hand side, what you see is we selected a combination of rain and the Hudson Riverine water level. We call it a storm surge, which is a 10-year, meaning it has a 10% chance of occurring in any given year. In combination with the 10-year rainfall, again, it has a 10% chance of occurring in any given year. So the combination of these constitute a less than 1% joint probability, which is kind of the guidance from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, with respect to flood mitigation projects. So since we would be looking for some federal grants as well, we wanted to make sure that's complying with the federal FEMA expectations or criteria. So, and then what we classified as flooding, there's a color coding that we have developed here. So the yellow means the nuisance flooding, the ponding in streets and so on, less than 4 inches. And then the orange is like 4 to 1 foot, which is again from a FEMA standpoint, less than 1 foot is considered as acceptable from a standpoint that, not that it is safer, but it is acceptable from the standpoint that, people can be alerted of the risk involved, when there is a less than 1 foot flooding on the streets. But greater than 12 inches, or like 1 foot, will be a significant flooding risk. We can't drive, we can't walk, comfortably in that depth of water and so on. So you do see that there are the hotspots that we talked about, the yacht club here, and then the riverfront park, the river road, they all are in that orange to red categories. So this is kind of under the existing conditions with the now no interventions planned. But then on the right-hand side is what we show with the interventions that we selected. So this will essentially be either a berm or raising of the river road here to the level of flood protection level. And so what you see on the interior, a slight red here is actually a retention basin or wetland that we are thinking about, so that it is going to be a little deeper than 1 foot. But it basically eliminated or minimized the flooding risk in the hotspots that we had considered for this study. So this is the kind of before and after type of pictures. There's a lot more information available in the report. I wanted to make this brief in terms of what the benefits that we would get out of the projects or interventions that we have selected. So initially, once we had the shorter list of interventions, the town also organized, as part of the grant requirement, a community meeting on November 12th. So we had a good turnout, as you could see here. We prepared some boards and also went through in detail what these interventions would look like, nature-based as well as engineered solutions, how they would look like. We showed some examples from other communities. The community was very engaged, and they were asking a lot of questions on the cost aspect, feasibility aspect, and also prioritization. Okay, you showed like 12 different types of intervention. What should be done first? That sort of very engaging questions. So we were very happy to be part of that process. Responding, and then followed up with sharing the PowerPoint material as well as the boards informational boards that we had developed here. That I have it in the next slide. So basically describing what the problem is, and then some of the interior drainage solutions like the wetland that we talked about, and then maybe bioswales to contain floodwaters on the streets, or some infiltrating zones where the soil is favorable to that, and so on. So we located some of those practices, where we recommended. And then the berm solution along the riverfront park, and also select reaches of the New Hamburg Yacht Club here. The berm has to be combined with tide gates, what we call as flap gates at each of the outfalls, because even if you construct a berm, if the outfall is open to the riverine water, increase, the water rise, then the water is going to be able to make it inland and still cause some flooding. So we recommended what type of flap gates would be appropriate. So based on the input, we prioritized these interventions. The berms are the first most recommended solutions. We developed some design guidelines on these, and then also showed what the extent of these berms would be near the riverfront park as well as near Yacht Club. And then I mentioned already the flap gates that have to be done concurrently with the berms. And then we proposed some additional storm sewers, where the runoff is currently, running over land along the curb lines, but just putting some catch basins and then putting them into the existing storm sewers, and then extending some of the storm sewers to areas with no storm sewer infrastructure. We've recommended those. And then constructed wetland or a retention basin in the park is definitely a priority, but that is going to be one of the cost-intensive mitigation strategies. So we put that in the later in the priority list. And then other green infrastructure like the bioswales on Main Street and the infiltration trench at the end of the Water Street. These are all mainly to prevent localized flooding, remnant flooding. We also identified several funding opportunities from FEMA as well as the state agencies, both the Department of State as well as DEC. My understanding is that the town is considering a couple of these opportunities. There's a deadline coming up in the beginning of June. So some of the projects identified in this study can be, prepared towards grant applications. So that is my overall presentation. I would like to conclude with my sincere acknowledgements and thanks to all the individuals as well as organizations that supported this project. First and foremost, the steering committee. They were very instrumental in getting all the information that we needed. And then, of course, our town staff, Mike and Kristen, Avi, Mike, they were all very, very helpful in the field work, the survey, clarification of information when we had, when we couldn't understand certain drawings and so on. And then the town board, you're all part of that process, guiding us through this study. And then DEC, that's a river estuary program that supported the project both financially as well as technically through providing input, during the survey as well as during the presentation subsequently. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Shri. Yeah, and I think that was a very good overview of a lot of information. And if you read the full report, you'll see that there's a lot more there. But this really gives us, for the first time, I think, a better understanding of both the situation with flooding down in New Hamburg and some of the potential ways that we might address that. And I like in particular, the committee, with their input, the idea of being incremental in our approach, starting with dealing with some of the consistent, repetitive flooding events that we're experiencing now, but building on in the future up to address the needs as they potentially grow down there on the river. So really, really good work, and obviously it's just a first step, right? Where, as Shri mentioned, there are some grants available later this spring from the DEC and the Department of State that we're going to take a look at. Potentially some federal grants too, although that's a little bit more up in the air at the moment. But we want to see where we can take the study and get into some of the interventions that were highlighted.
Any questions?
Do you mind? You had one?
No, go ahead.
The storm wall Bettini put up, was that something that could be extended that would help everybody down there?
Let's say it again.
The storm wall that Bettini put up on his property?
Something like that, yeah. The cost of doing that like that might be a little bit prohibitive, and I think the oil tanks there, probably provide for a good reason for that expenditure at that location.
Right.
But we're looking at similar types of interventions, yes, elsewhere on the shoreline, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank Shri and his team. Hi, Shri, it's Bill Reuter. I know
Hello.
I've been to a number of meetings, sorry I missed the February one. But I just wanted to say thank you for your insightful, and particularly insightful in your study is the identification, I believe, of the interior flood risk and the potential of, reduction, how to reduce that. And then the, nature-based, solutions, which I thought were wonderful, and also the stormwater gap gates, which I found very interesting. So thank you for your insightfulness and giving us some, many options to how to handle this in New Hamburg, which has been going on for quite some time.
If I could add one question that might not be for now, but for later, but we were looking at grants today and talking with the town grant writer, and the grant sources that we were looking at don't seem terrifically excited about berms.
Yes.
Nor did the berms seem particularly innovative or particularly environmentally friendly. I mean, you can do them, that may be the solution here, but I wondered, they talked about living shorelines and other approaches, and I wonder if Bhumi was able to identify what berm alternatives would look like. And I was looking at that green innovation grant and some other things, right? Are there other approaches we could take that are cutting edge that would make us more I would be very happy to build a berm, but I have a feeling it's gonna be town money to do that. So I'm wondering if there's more inventive things we might do that might have other advantages and also might help us compete for grant
I
funds.
think we'll have to see. I think, at some point, we will need to raise the level there, right? So, I think, but there, some of the other interventions like the constructed wetland at Riverfront Park and those types of things will help as well. And those do seem like they're probably more fundable at the moment under at least the DEC and DOS programs that we were looking at today. But we got to also see what else is out there. There may be other sources too.
It would be helpful to kind of know the relative cost too. I don't know if
there is some information, but it's very broad brush at this point because it's a little hard to know without getting into, the next level of design, which is what we need to do next, really.
Exactly.
I had a quick question that kind of feeds onto Rebecca's question. So I see that I like the nature-based approach as well. And because New Hamburg's development is right up against the shoreline and there's no buffer at the edge, is it possible in the future, and I don't know if this came up in your discovery process, can you build the shoreline out a little bit to put more natural reeds and marsh water and marsh plants in? Or can you only do wetlands on existing land?
Well, I'm going to let Shri respond because
Or
he's definitely the
Scott.
subject matter expert here. So, Shri, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, definitely. When we are looking into far in the future, we are looking at something in the order of 7 or 8 feet of wall, like the other gentleman asked that question about the Botini fuel one, because of there's no aesthetic view, they were more interested in protecting of course, the fuel locations, the oil tanks and so on, they were able to raise that, but we can't do that elsewhere. So certainly it requires a combination of, can we extend the shoreline in a way that we would raise the, we use the term berm loosely, but it's not an engineered, it doesn't have to be an engineered one, it could be a nature-based berm also. We did talk about maybe raising that, in a way to put some bike paths, around, on top of that. So it offers it's a nature-based solution berm, but it offers recreational opportunities for walking or biking, things like that. So certainly, when we are thinking about raising the berm or the wall that we are talking about to 6 to 8 feet, it'll be really good to extend the shoreline, go a little bit into the water and create more like a pile type of foundation, and then build on that. That way, the interior features or the ownership are maintained as is, and we are kind of extending it out there in terms of protection. And one of the ideas that the steering committee members, Pam, I see her here, she came up with the thought about, the river road. The thing is, we initially proposed berm, but then she was saying it is in White's property. So can we think about maybe raising the river road? Maybe that will become the berm, and that is definitely going along the lines of nature-based solution, because if you raise the river road itself to the elevation that we are recommending, and then strengthen that with some boulders and so on, that way there's a habitat formation in the area, so that'll look really like a natural shoreline, still giving the protection that we need, right? So that is part of the recommendation here for the near future, but in the future, for future ones with more extensive berm that will be needed, we definitely need to think about out of the box solutions.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions?
Yeah, just one thing, for those of us who want to read the entire report, I think it's probably on the town website. And where can we find it?
It will be on the town website, it is not yet, but I think we'll put it on the planning department and the CAC.
I actually put it on
oh,
the backup. It's actually behind
It is on,
me.
right, well, yes, it's on the backup for
Of the
with the
agenda
agenda, but we
packet.
will have a permanent home for it. We just got the report last week, so just haven't done that yet.
It's like 80-some pages, correct?
Yep,
Is that- yep.
yep.
Okay, look for it on the website soon.
Yeah.
All right.
And I did want to mention thank you to Pam Kingsley, who I forgot
Yeah.
she's here, but Pam is one of the steering committee members. She's also chair of the CAC, lives in New Hamburg, and was one of the inspirations for going after this grant and doing this study in the first place, so.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
Thanks, and thanks to everybody who, volunteers and everybody who was involved in it. Thanks very much.
Thank you for a great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you, good
Night.
night. So our second presentation is by Renee Tansen from NAMI Mid-Hudson. Upcoming in May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're inviting NAMI to talk about their work and share with us a little bit about Mental Health Awareness Month for May. Welcome.
Thank you.
You should be able to share your screen.
So, hi, I'm Renee, and this is my husband Joe, and we're representing NAMI Mid-Hudson tonight. We both volunteer for NAMI Mid-Hudson because we just love this organization. They do such great work. They offer free educational and evidence-based classes and support groups to the community, and not only for people who are experiencing mental health conditions, but also for their loved ones who care for them. And that is an area that is lacking in a lot of treatment plans for people who have mental health conditions. And when we think about it, our family members and friends are our first line of support, right? So that's very, very important to include that. And the other unique thing about NAMI Mid-Hudson is that all of the teachers, the presenters, the facilitators, all have lived experience. So they're either someone who lives with a mental health condition, or they are a caregiver. So they have personal experience and knowledge in this area. So I gave you each a packet because one of them is a takeaway. So Supervisor Edwards asked me to also address some concrete actions that you could take as a board. And so I just wanted to, I'm a very visual person, so I just put that down as a takeaway for you. So you can always refer to it and think about it in the future, because there's a lot of information here. And in our organization, we realized that there is a scarcity of information among individuals and families about mental health. We're not really prepared when a loved one starts experiencing one. And so, it's really good to keep thinking about it and to educate ourselves. And so when you asked to talk about, for me to share with you some concrete things to do, I started thinking about specific situations that might come across to you as a board. And the more I thought about it is, I don't know what comes across you as a board and what issues come up. But I think the best thing to do is to show you how to educate yourself, so that when issues do arise, you can view them through a lens of compassion for your constituents and a better understanding of what they might be going through and the struggles that they experience. So, So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about
Gosh.
NAMI. NAMI stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Your local chapter, your local affiliate is NAMI Mid-Hudson. And our goals are to educate the public about mental health conditions and how to care for our loved ones, to support peers and family members. So when I say peers, that means a person who is living with the mental health condition. And we also advocate. So we advocate for research. We advocate for current and specific needs in the community. And we also advocate to eliminate mental health stigma. And the stigma is what keeps people from going and reaching out for help. Statistically, people wait sometimes up to 8 years after first experiencing symptoms before they go out and reach out to get some help, and that's not acceptable. If we broke our arm, we wouldn't wait that long. If we were sick, we wouldn't wait that long. And so we want to normalize the conversation. We want to educate people so that they won't wait. Just to explain a little bit about NAMI, we have 3 levels in our organization. We have the national level, and their information can be found on NAMI.org. There's a state level, so all of our states have a NAMI, and they guide the policy in the state and help all the affiliates to operate. And then we have the local. Our NAMI Mid-Hudson serves both Dutchess and Ulster County. And at all 3 levels, there is unique information. So you can go on any of these websites and find out lots of information about mental health conditions, information about how to support your loved ones, information about how to advocate. If you become a member, for as little as $5, you can become a member of NAMI Mid-Hudson, and with that membership, you have access to even more information from all 3 levels. You're automatically a member of each one. And so, part of that's really helpful is it helps people know that they're not alone. The statistic is 1 in 5 people, adults in the United States will experience a mental health condition each year, and 1 in 6 children. So that's a very significant number. And when we consider the family members who all support that person, it becomes quite a common experience for people. And so it's really great that they have all of this information. So I mentioned a 3-prong approach. So our first is education. We offer classes and presentations. So here I have the classes listed with an asterisk are classes that we deliver at NAMI Mid-Hudson, be they in person or online or a hybrid model. The ones that have the plus sign are through NAMI National, so they can be either a self-paced class or a real-time class, but it's offered through them. And Basics is a class where people follow modules, and if your loved one is school age, so that one is recommended for those folks. And then we have NAMI Homefront for veterans and their families. And we have presentations which are wonderful. They're evidence-based. We go into schools and we offer presentations in which we have a lead adult presenter, and we have a young adult who lives with a mental health condition, and each person presents. So the adult leader tells about signs and symptoms of mental health, how to get help. They talk about suicide and how to, if you think someone is struggling, how to help that person, what to say. They talk about the young person, the young adult talks about their story. And what's really wonderful about that is that our high school and middle school students are sometimes sitting in that audience, and the young adult's story resonates with them. And they think, oh, that sounds like me. And they are encouraged to find a trusted adult and tell them what's happening. And we've had many success stories. Very recently, we presented at a school, and a student went home and told their mom that they were thinking about suicide and was making a plan. And so that presentation possibly saved that child's life. And so that's why we're so involved with this organization. They do really wonderful work. We also have In Our Own Voice, where we go out in the community and we can do a similar type of presentation to businesses and communities, churches, and whoever is interested in learning more. For support, the second prong of our approach is offering support groups. So we have support groups for those family and friends who are caregivers. And we offer one each week. And so anyone, no matter where you live, you can drop in on that support group. And some of them are in person. We have one locally that meets at Perkins in Wappingers Falls. They decided to go back to in-person. And then our other three are offered in various combinations of hybrid or in-person. For advocacy, we do a variety of things in our organization. So we have May Mental Health Awareness Month, and we reach out to towns and villages and cities in our 2 counties and ask them if they would like to partner with us. So we ask them to participate in the ribbon campaign, to proclaim May as Mental Health Awareness Month in their community, and I thank you for doing that. It's not your first time, you've done it in the past, and we really appreciate. And I truly appreciate your curiosity about how to help even more. We table at community events. Some of them are at schools, and some of them are by other agencies that serve in the mental health area. We're having a walk on the walkway over the Hudson on May 31st. That's going to be our culminating activity for May Mental Health Awareness Month. And we plan to start at each end of the bridge. So these are our friends in Ulster County and our friends in Dutchess, and then we'll meet in the middle, and there will be speeches in the middle. And last year we had leadership from both counties give very moving speeches, and we had people that had very personal stories to tell, and it really brought the 2 communities together, and it's making people realize that this is more prevalent than we might realize, and that it is okay to talk about it and to go out there and get some support. We have conferences, educational conferences that you can attend. NAMI New York State has one every year, and NAMI Nationals is coming up, I believe, in June, and that one's going to be online. So it's another place that people can go to learn. And we also participate from NAMI New York State and from NAMI National come issues like governmental type of issues when there's laws being passed or bills being presented. We get informed about those, and anyone who belongs to the organization as a member can receive those kinds of, if you are interested in that, you can click that box when you make your account, and you can say, yes, I want to hear about those things, and I want to be able to inform myself and weigh in on those topics. And we also try to meet with government leaders and agency leaders to find out where there's gaps in mental health and try to fill those in with our services as well. So you have on your resources website, you have all of the NAMI, all 3 levels of our contact information, which is awesome. And I was very excited to see that you have other mental health agencies listed there as well, which is really spectacular. So thank you very much for including that. You all know about 988. So that's important to let your constituents know that 988 is the 911 for mental health. And that's where people can go for if they're in crisis, and the dispatcher there will direct them to get to the appropriate places, whether it be they need mobile mental health unit to come come to their home or wherever they are located, or to to let the person know that there's a stabilization center in the city of Poughkeepsie that they can go to 24/7, or just to talk through a situation that's going on. And then locally, Dutchess County has a talk and text line, which at Ending the Silence, our presenters have the kids for a little NAMI swag. They get if they put the app on their phone. So it's there for them in an emergency, like if they really are feeling badly and they need to talk to somebody, that's there for them. So how can you promote mental health, not just during Mental Health Awareness Month, but all through the year, is really just to get started, to get involved and to educate yourself and to learn how to advocate. And advocating can be things like learning that language matters when you talk about mental health. It can be learning about issues and areas where people struggle. For example, housing. People with mental health conditions might be in need of financial support or housing support. Through the police department, police respond to mental health calls, and because some people don't realize that there are other avenues that they can call. So we encourage all the police officers to have crisis intervention team training, and just so that you're aware of that, that is something that they try to keep having new officers trained in that, so that when they're answering a call, they're better informed. And also, you know, some communities have social workers that ride along on those calls to be that mental health expert in that situation. So you can become a member and avail yourself to all the information that's out there, so that when you're looking at issues that come by your desk, or you get a phone call from a citizen that, you know, needs help and they want to know where to go, you'll be looking at each situation through a lens of better knowledge. And you can become a volunteer with NAMI Mid-Hudson. We're always looking for volunteers. We're looking to increase our board membership, so we need people on our board. We need people to make ribbons, and we need people, you know, for all kinds of things. And you know, if you have your own knowledge about mental health, you'll have things to bring to the table too. And we need table presenters and things like that. And participate in the walk, or, you know, promote activities that are going on in the community about mental health. So that's also very, very helpful.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there questions anybody wanted to ask? Thank you very much for sharing all the parts of NAMI's work.
Yeah, I did have a question. After the free classes are over, is there additional classes or classes with a fee attached?
Oh, there are never any
Okay.
fees.
'Cause-
There are, like, so for example, our family to family class, it's an 8-week, it meets once a week for 8 weeks. And after that class, if you need a refresher, there's a 2-hour seminar
Okay.
that people can take. And there's the drop-in support groups that people can utilize anytime, and there's one a week. People leave with a binder full of resources and then all the information that's been shared within those 8 weeks. So yeah, there are other avenues. Tonight we're hosting an In Our Own Voice for community. We had 100 people sign up. So a lot of times people that have been to, they could be people new to NAMI, or they could be people who have attended some of our classes. They might come just to learn more. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
I'm encouraged
Anyone else?
by, I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
I'm encouraged by the support to families impacted by mental health conditions of those they care about and love. I was wondering if the NAMI Basics On Demand online class was in response to people who could not get out to go somewhere to do group setting meetings, and
Yeah,
how is
absolutely.
that?
Well, that is very important, and the fact that it's self-paced modules, it's not live, but it's self-paced modules, so, it's really geared towards, school-aged, even up to 21, your loved one is up to that age. And, it's helpful, like if you know, maybe you have childcare issues, or you just don't have a lot of time, that's just one option. It's one thing in your toolbox that you can go to get some help, so yes. And then, when we went through COVID, like all our classes used to be in person, and, you know, the bright spot of learning through COVID was we went online. And just, I'm a former educator, so I know all about the hybrid services and the remote services. And you know, and our teachers and facilitators learned to do the same. And what we learned about that is it really helps people. They've worked a long day at work, and then they come home, they can go online, and it's easier. They could be at home, they can have their dinner, they, you know, don't have to get childcare, you know, so a lot of people felt that it was really helpful.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so
Renee,
much.
I have a quick question. Thank you for letting us know more about this. Would you like to join us on May 10th? Has anyone reached out to you if you'd like to table
Yes,
at the town day?
Supervisor Edwards asked, and I personally am not available, and I asked around to see if we had any other volunteers, and I was not able to find one, so that's evidence right there that we need more volunteers. And, you know, our organization, we're small, we're a small group, and we have, a few paid employees, but everybody else is volunteering.
Well,
so-
can we get a couple, like, small business cards or something we could put out on our table, our town table?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm sure we
yes.
can get some
Yeah,
materials. Yep.
Absolutely, yeah,
We'll
absolutely.
pinch hit for you.
Right.
Okay,
And ribbons,
okay,
if
that would
you-
be
right.
great.
And, yeah, I know the town has done this in the past. If you have ribbons, we'd like to put them out for May.
I'm gonna bring you some ribbons.
That'd be
You
great.
said you were going to ask some local businesses if they.
I thought Ann and I might ask the Arlington Business Improvement District and see if they had groups
Okay.
that wanted to do that as well.
So, because these are businesses, typically when we make our bows, they don't have tails on them yet until we tie them onto a post or tree. But I have to put some tails on them for you. And then, how many would you like to have?
I don't know, maybe Ann and I can touch base with the
Yeah.
bid and see who might want them, but,
Okay.
I'd certainly be happy to have a few extras and just advertise that they're available at Town Hall for anybody who might wanna come and get one.
Oh, that's a
So,
great idea.
can do
That's a
that.
really great idea.
So,
Yeah, in the past, you used to go on, where the
Wilbur-
golf courses.
Wilbur, we had a volunteer, see,
right.
and some of this is driven by our volunteers and what they're able to do. So that volunteer who was doing Wilbur Boulevard was doing other communities as well. And so, you know, Wilbur Boulevard is just one small place. The town of Poughkeepsie is huge.
Yes.
yeah, we
So-
noticed that.
Yeah, yeah. The library might be a good place to
Yeah.
inquire. They might, like to participate and have.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, and I was particularly impressed with your monthly family support groups and the number of them that you have. So, could you tell me a little bit about how those are going? So in other words, you have a facilitator, and you would give an individual potentially an opportunity to express concerns in that, it'd be back and forth, and others can support? Is that
Yes.
kind of, I have that accurate?
It is an established signature program through NAMI National. So there are guidelines in the beginning of every meeting. The guidelines are read to remind people about confidentiality,
All right.
being non-judgmental, and so on and so forth. There's 2 facilitators at each support meeting who are trained through NAMI. And it could be a variety of things. People coming in because they need some support, they've had a tough week perhaps. Or it could also be, you know, I cannot find a psychologist to meet with, I can't get an appointment.
It's really hard.
And so the people in the room have because they have lived experience, like people will offer them suggestions of places to call or resources that will help them, other agencies that will help them to secure a doctor or a psychologist to help. So those are the kinds of things that happen, but our facilitators are trained. They're not professional, and we don't offer any mental health professional advice, but it's a support group.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Do you guys charge a fee for like the ribbons for a business to put out? Like a sponsorship fee or anything?
No, we are an organization, we run on donations and grants. So that's how we fund everything.
That's great.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that last year, this board did vote to use the opioid settlement funds that the town is getting for a peer counselor to ride with the police. We're still setting that up, but People USA will be, we're working on having that person with substance use and mental health, experience as a peer counselor. So we're trying to get that set up so that our police have that, and
That's
they are very much
important.
wanted, so.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so happy to hear you say
It'd be
that.
nice if we could get that done in May because we've been working on it for a while, so. Thank you very much, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you for having us.
Good night, thank you. Look forward to having lots of ribbons next month.
Okay.
Do our part.
We'll be making them.
Thank you.
I had two things on the website, but nothing.
I have emailed it already, yeah.
I don't remember.
If it came to me and you didn't get it, Felicia, we'll talk
Okay.
tomorrow. I'll make sure it gets to
Okay,
you.
perfect.
We'll
Okay, I'll
find
check
it.
in with you tomorrow.
Okay, thanks. Great,
Okay,
thank you.
I just have to disconnect from this.
Sure. Our next presentation is going to be low-tech. Parchment, right? We're talking about the American Revolution. I think we need parchment and quill pens and, right? That's right.
Boy.
You have to experience it.
All right, welcome Town Historian John Pinna to talk about our plan.
Shouldn't we have a wig on and dress?
That would be
great.
That's right, we
Clothes?
need tricorn hats or
That's
a
right.
fife or something here.
That's right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I want to share some information with you about what we're planning for the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. There's a lot of activity coming down the line, state and in New York State, as well as, I'm assuming, the country. What we did is we got together and decided that we needed to do something for the anniversary of the revolution. And what we came up with is having something each month over the course of the year, starting with this summer. That was purposely thought out because we don't want to be competing with everyone in 2026. So we decided to start this summer with some of the activities. We came up with the idea of having a lecture series where we will have a lecture take place each month throughout the town. The lectures will take place in different locations. They're not all going to be necessarily in the same location, depending on what the lecture is. The idea behind that was to try to get people to see different parts of the town. And people don't believe we have a history, okay? Because we have no town center. And I think it's important to get them to see what we do have and where it's located. They also don't think we have any history of the American Revolution. We never had a battle here, okay? But we do have American Revolutionary history here in the town of Poughkeepsie. One of the first things we came up with was having a culinary experience. So we contacted the Culinary Institute, and we got them to a professor up there who's willing to come in and talk about colonial food and also do samplings with her students. We also were able to partner with Tom Lawrence at the Adrian's Library. There is a little bit of a cost here, and he is willing to absorb all that cost. It's not exorbitant, but he is willing to absorb that cost for us. One of the things I'm trying to do is keep this down to a minimum of expense as much as we can. So we're going to have a sampling of foods in July of this summer and a little lecture about colonial foods. and it'll be put on by the Culinary Institute. The library is also going to sponsor the movie 1776, and I believe that's a movie, it's a movie that I believe everybody needs to see. It's the musical, but it's an incredible movie if you haven't seen it, and I think it's important for people to see that movie. So we're going to have that take place this summer in August. We are also doing historical homes, colonial homes in our town. We picked out 3 right now. The Westervelt, the Greenvale farmhouse is one of the houses that's out by Greenville. It's owned by Colleen McCarthy. It is a historic colonial home, and her family's going to talk about the house and the history of the house and the importance of the house in the town of Poughkeepsie. The Westervelt home, and there actually were 2 Westervelt homes. One is, the one which we have listed here is the one on Spackenkill Road in the town of Poughkeepsie. It's the old stone house out by the church, by the, the Mormon church out there. That one, and we also, the TEG Credit Union, where we used to have the treasure chest, all right, was the other Westervelt house. That one was the first house, actually. The one on Spackenkill Road is the second house. And that one is, used to be, prior to the revolution, used to be the King's Highway toll house. So they used to collect the tolls to the King's Highway. All right, and then it became, he became a, he was very much a patriot, Kasparis Westervelt. He was very much a patriot, and he actually had meetings there for patriots in the town of Poughkeepsie. We also know that British soldiers were in and out of the tavern there in the inn, and we also know that the colonials were in and out. So it had quite a history, and it's unfortunate we lost that building, but we did. But we're going to talk about that house a little bit as well. And so these will take place in October. And then we have the Ford Homestead, which is, the Ford family was very much a part of the colonial movement and the revolution. And he was in the Continental Army, and we'll talk about the Ford family as well, and we'll have some presentation on that. In November, we're going to go down to the New Hamburg Yacht Club, and we're going to have a lecture on the importance of the Hudson River during the American Revolution. New York State was critical in the American Revolution, as you know. The plan that the British had was they wanted to split New England from the South. And the way to do that was to take control of New York State. And the way to do that is to take control of the Hudson River. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to have a lecture on that. And Dan Fandon's going to do that because he is very much involved with nautical history and the Revolution. January, we're going to have Tony Musso come in. And he is a local writer and a journalist. And he's going to talk about different sites in the Hudson River Valley. Up and down the Hudson River, and he's going to give us that information. In February, we're going to have Dr. Thomas Wormuth from Marist talk about the food riots that took place right here in Poughkeepsie. There was a real problem with getting food for the Continental Army, and of course, as they took food from local farmers, there was a shortage of food in the area, and so there was actually food riots where women actually, the women in the areas rose up and said, wait a minute, we got to feed our families. All right, it's nice that we got to feed the military and the army, but we got to feed our families. Mm-hmm. So there were food riots that took place, and it was led by a number of women in the Hudson Valley and in Poughkeepsie. We're going to do we want to talk about the African Americans in the American Revolution. We're still working on a speaker for that. So we're going to address that issue. We're going to look at women during the American Revolution, and we're going to go to the DAR for that and get someone there to talk about that topic. And the Native Americans, we're working on a person right now who's going to come in and talk about the Lenape Nation right here in Poughkeepsie that was involved in the American Revolution here in the local area. And then in June, we're going to have a reenactment with some local volunteers. I have a friend who has friends who are doing reenactments all the time, so we're going to do a reenactment of the Continental soldiers. And in July of next year, we're going to do have the Honorable Judge Albert Rosenblatt come in and talk about the debate concerning the ratification of the Constitution here in New York State was one of the states, one of the last states to talk about ratifying it. And there was a big debate about that. And we had, the founding fathers came up to Poughkeepsie. And I'm bragging right now. Back then, city of Poughkeepsie did not exist. Okay? It was the town of Poughkeepsie and the village of Poughkeepsie. All right? So I am reclaiming Poughkeepsie as the place where the ratification took place. City's not gonna like that, but I truly believe that's important that we take that recognition back, all right? And because the founding fathers came here, Alexander Hamilton was here, and Madison, a number of people came up here, and they debated this with Clinton, the Federalist and the Anti-Federalist. So I am reclaiming that for us, okay?
Maybe we could share.
Excuse me?
Maybe we could share.
Well, they already have it, so we're gonna, no one's offered. But by reclaiming it, they're gonna have to offer.
What, do you know what site they met?
Yeah, they met in basically the old city hall in Poughkeepsie, the old city hall, the replica that's
It's
there
on
now.
Market Street.
On Market Street.
Market Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
There's a plaque there if you go.
So John, I don't want to get off base, but how did the city get carved out then?
oh, that happened, that city got carved out in 1856, where they went and wanted to consolidate. It happened in 1856, where they wanted to consolidate and got permission from the state to go ahead and do that. Because that's our city center, believe it or not. That's our town center, but it's gone.
That had been the village, and then
Right.
it became the city.
Right. Yeah, so we lost it, unfortunately. Also, we're trying to get, Judge Rosenblatt wrote a play called The Fateful Hour. And I saw the play this summer, and it's all about the ratification of the Constitution. So we're trying to get that performance put on as an additional piece of history. They put it on this summer, and I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get that done, have that put forth. If you look on the back, that was my little announcement about the fateful hour. The American Revolution, we're gonna have American Revolutionary Scavenger Hunt. I met with the Recreation Department, Nate and I sat and talked, and we're gonna do a scavenger hunt of different aspects in the town about the revolution that people can find, and then have a little contest and see what they come up with, and give them some little rewards here and there. So Nate and I have talked about that, and he's excited, I'm excited to get that done. We talked with the water department, Ann was very instrumental in doing this, and painting fire hydrants with red, white, and blue for the revolution. And the water department's gonna identify about 50 of them in the town, and then we're going to solicit paint and all the stuff we need from local businesses, and make that available to the citizens who want to do that. So it'll be
Yeah.
like a community.
We'll have a sign up so they can.
Yeah, we'll have a sign up and so on and so forth. yeah.
Tommy suggested we do 50. It turns out we have 3,000 fire hydrants in the town. I had no idea. So he's gonna identify, well, we're gonna help identify 50 that we think are areas where they get a lot of,
Visible.
yeah, visible.
Some days it feels like we have 3,000 water and sewer pumps that need replacement.
Yeah,
So I'm
was
glad they're just
just
hydrants.
shocked. Anyways, and then Tommy and the water department are gonna go out there and clean them up, and then we'll have people sign up for the 50 designated, and give them some paint and let them do patriotic themes. I've seen them painted where they look like little colonial soldiers and other things.
Maybe we could get some of the Arts Mid Hudson folks involved with designs too, to do some different
That,
designs.
yeah, to
Right.
have a
Yep.
list, group of suggestions, yes.
Yeah,
We're gonna do we have 3 public schools, elementary schools in the town. Fourth graders in the fourth grade, they teach local history. And we also have a number of private schools. So what we're gonna do is have a essay and/or poster contest for fourth graders, and have them submit those to us and do something with that, and get the young people involved. And then we are going to do something with the colonial grave sites in the town of Poughkeepsie, because we do have a number of those. And I don't think people realize that, so we're gonna put those out there as well. Now, this is just a preliminary draft of what we're doing. We still have to come up with exact dates, and we have to come up with some of the speakers and so forth. We're working on that, and we'll be putting that all together.
Are they gonna be held at various locations or mostly the library or?
Well, we're gonna try to have the lectures take place centrally located where everybody can get to them. and then where there's enough parking for people, so they don't have to go crazy looking for parking. That's the key, so it may be in one location in the end, or maybe two at the most. Okay, with the exception of like the yacht club, we know that we want to do that near the river, and so forth. We may do we're gonna do the reenactment probably in a park somewhere, one of our town parks, assuming the town is okay with us bringing muskets there.
Yeah, and the first one is already gonna be at the senior center.
Yeah, and that's gonna be at the senior
center.
center here in the
The
town.
culinary one's gonna be the
Yeah,
senior.
the first one, yep, we have that.
Do you know the
set up.
date yet or no?
All right, John,
So-
what's the date? Because the date is said it's
I
a
believe it
Wednesday.
was the 16th,
It's
but wait,
okay.
I think it was 16th, but we'll get it to you.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a Wednesday.
I'm gonna get you a sheet with all the dates
Yeah,
and all
no,
the
that's,
times.
that,
and all
I
that
was just
kind of
curious.
stuff.
Even more important, you're gonna have, you've got 7 interns this spring, right? You're gonna be able to come on May 10th and provide some information at the community
Well,
day maybe, so people will then know
yes.
what's going on.
Yes,
at some
I
of
will be
these
coming
summer
there, I'm gonna
events.
try to get some of the interns.
Great.
That's their exam week and stuff, so I don't know how many of them I'll be able to get, but we'll see who comes up.
I'd love to see their research.
Yep.
Yeah. We have communications interns potentially working with us this summer who could help put some things on the web
Oh,
too, so
great.
that some of this information will be out there for, I mean, people with private houses may or may not want, a whole lot detailed stuff out on the web, I don't know, but it's
Yep.
helpful to have a map and some basic.
Yeah, and what we also have is, some other things we've been doing, we always do landmarking, as you know. With the students that I've been working with, each of them had a house, they're now they're at the end of their research with their homes, that they're looking at for landmarking. They found some interesting things about some of the houses and stuff that we didn't know. And they really dug in, and came up with some interesting stuff. We're also having the house that was approved for landmarking on Croft Road, which used to be a stable. That house, the Van Idleys who own that house, have decided they want to have a little gathering when I bring the plaque to them and have a presentation. So we're going to do that on May 4th. And that's going to be exciting to do that and get a little bit of publicity for the town and what we've been doing. We'll be at the May 10th Community Day. I'm going to work on that. And there's things in my office I can bring down there too that will be rather interesting. I have a lot of information, believe it or not, on De La Val, old pictures, and I have some of their, what the salesmen used to use when they went out to sell, get people interested in the separator that the De La Val company put out. So I have some interesting artifacts that people have donated to us. So I will bring some of that and some other stuff that I have there. The other thing that we have is there are new Hamburg houses that we are also going to recognize that have been landmarked later in the spring because they wanted to do it as a collective group. So we decided that's fine, and so they're going to get back to me, and we're going to do something with that in the spring as well. So we've been busy, a lot of stuff going on. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. As you firm up these dates, we'll just keep checking on the website.
Yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put together another one of these once we get all of everything set, and then we're gonna put the whole list up at one
Alright.
time.
So here's my trivial pursuit question. We know that 200 years is a bicentennial. 150 years is a sesquicentennial, but do you know what a 250-year sounds like?
I'll be honest with you, I don't.
Yeah, it's gotta have a Latin name.
It's a something sesquicentennial, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
Bisesquicentennial.
Bisesquicentennial or something like that. It's a very lengthy word.
A tongue twister.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the
250th
things,
anniversary sounds.
one of the things I wanted
Yeah,
to,
250, yeah.
one of the things that we
250.
wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that with everything we did, we were representing every different aspect of the revolutionary history with different groups of people that participated. And the town has a rich history. And when the focus is going to be as much as possible, the town with these lectures as much as we can, how it impacted the town or was a part of the town or not the broad-based.
Right.
Okay, we want to keep it focused on the town of Poughkeepsie because we do have a rich history here. Some really, really great stuff.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Excellent presentation.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.
We're going to be busy.
Thank you.
You're
Really
welcome.
appreciate it. Mike's already signing up for 1776.
Oh, yeah, I'm it, and I'm gonna paint, I'm not gonna actually paint, I'm gonna have my stepdaughter paint the fire hydrant in front of my house.
You're gonna design it and she's gonna paint it.
She's gonna design it and she's gonna paint it.
Ah, there you
She's-
go.
She's got the skills.
All right, very good, very good.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you,
again.
John.
Thanks, John.
Very good.
I'm more of a manager.
There you go. You're gonna guide the work, right? Okay, so I just wanted to give a few updates here on what's been going on from the supervisor's perspective. I'll be quick. So the resident services guide is going out next week. I believe it'll probably arrive in people's mailboxes about a week from Monday. And I want to thank Erica Bushel, who has done a tremendous amount of work on that. We started with 16 pages and it ended up being 24 pages because there's so much information about highway transfer dates and what, Conservation Advisory Committee is doing, and 2 pages on the police department and their programs. And in putting it together, I learned a few things I didn't know about services the town provided. So I'm pretty sure that other folks will learn things they didn't know either. So I'm really excited about that. I have been working on some issues around finance. I know the Finance Committee is going to report in just a minute, but particularly focused on bringing some sort of capital planning tools to the board in May, and also including in that materials from the joint water plant and the tri-muni, which both, and we also have a city-owned sewer plant that we pay into, and trying to get a full understanding of the finances of those plants and what potential capital needs might be so that we can factor that in, which hasn't been done. The Citizens Financial Advisory Committee, I've had a couple of volunteers so far. As of today, people can sign up on the website if they're interested in volunteering for that. So just a reminder to reach out and find people who might be interested in serving. We have now at this point, well, and the other thing I'm sort of wrestling with, and we'll talk about over the next month or probably several months, is the issue of kind of right-sizing our staffing to make sure that we are not, as we did with the ACO, the Animal Control Officer, trying to find that was a shared position that we could share with multiple towns. On the other hand, we've got some departments where we just don't have the staffing that we need. So next week, we're gonna be bringing a proposal to the board to have our AP clerk, who handles all our bills, go from part-time to full-time. Because she's terrific, she's really good, and this town just needs more than half of an AP clerk. She cannot, other people are assisting as they can, but we are having trouble keeping up. So that's one of a number of staffing issues I'd like to talk about, and also some issues of training and support for department heads and for software training and a range of other things. So I'm working on some of those things. Trevor, as legislative aide, has also been working on tidying up some grants so that we'll be able to purchase the 2 EVs that we have funds for, small electric equipment that departments have picked out, and do the energy audits. We have to get our Central Hudson bills straight and figure out exactly which Central Hudson bill is tied to each property, each sewer pump. And Trevor has been, it's Trevor versus Central Hudson. I think Trevor's winning, but it is a huge task to get all that squared away. And that's the basis for a lot of future grants and a lot of future work. We have 10 grants out for consideration right now, and we have 2 more that are in process to be put out. We've got a bunch more that we've already received and are processing, and 2 or 3 more potential ones in the works. I have been working on some things around battery energy storage systems, particularly the Dutchess County Mayors and Supervisors Association is going to have a meeting on June 3rd about that. The county has contacted for us another conversation about EMS. We don't have a date for that yet, but I'm working on meeting with them, and met with the new Arlington Fire Chief, Chief Kangas, and also with the Fire Advisory Board yesterday, and trying to, actually all 3 fire departments in town have new fire chiefs within the last year and a half. So trying to get everybody on the same page to have that conversation. Working on planning for the Community Day on May 10th, and working on a rollout of the Nesterly home sharing operation, which is gonna be going on, that pilot project is gonna launch starting next week. So my supervisor's e-newsletter next week will be about that, and we're working on a plan to do a senior center lunch and learn, and do some other things to get the word out about the opportunity to participate in the Nesterly project. So that's gonna be a big priority for May and June. And last but not least, there's a food pantry here tomorrow morning. Food will start being given away at 9 o'clock. I know that there have been federal USDA cuts. We did see less food last month at the last two, and so we're waiting to see whether was temporary or what we're gonna see in terms of amount of food. We've been serving over 120 households,
Open for
110
everybody
to
or
110.
just town?
It's open to anybody. It's not, we don't test for residency. It is predominantly town of Poughkeepsie. We've had some people from the city of Poughkeepsie. We've had someone who came from as far as Pine Plains. So they do keep track of where people come from. And we've had LaGrange, we've had Wappingers, we've had from all over. But it's not, and we've had mostly volunteers are from the town, but some of the volunteers are from other municipalities as well. And we're looking at whether it fits at town hall. There's a lot of, it takes up pretty much every parking space.
It's gonna be
and
down below
It's
tomorrow.
gonna be on the lower level tomorrow. We're
It's
gonna
on
use
the
the area by
lower
the
level.
White House to try to distribute food. The truck can get in there, and we're gonna see if that works better, but it definitely maxes out the space. So, and I wanna thank Ann Shershin, and others who've been involved in that project. So, I think, I was gonna say a little bit more about the police courts facility, but there's a report on that later, so I'll wait and turn it over to the finance committee, which I think met
Thank you.
yesterday.
Yes.
Yep.
Can't believe it was just yesterday. We met yesterday, and we're really all set for our quarterly report that's coming up next Wednesday, April 16th. The numbers look good. We were beginning to work on our capital plan, not just, starting to develop a list, but thinking about prioritizing that list. And we're also preparing to work with the new Citizens Financial Advisory Committee. So we're just getting our feet under us, and did I miss anything, Bill? Or
No,
Ann?
I mean, we were talking about the concept of citizen advice. I sent some files over for everybody
Right.
to take a look at, so I think that'll be a wonderful addition, so
Great.
thank you for that.
Manal's gonna report at the comptroller will report at the next meeting. The packet looks like this, and what we thought we might do is print out the summary sheets and send a PDF of the rest, unless someone wants the whole thing printed. I think that the finance committee members and I'm also happy to pass my printed version on to somebody. We're gonna decide whether people would like the whole thing printed out, or whether you'd prefer to have,
Maybe she could put a link on the comptroller's website.
well, I think all the monthly postings and everything go on that site, but it's a question of how much we really need to print out. Whether
Yeah.
people want
Yeah.
all the background materials as a PDF, or whether they want it all printed, the board members.
I'd like it printed, because I don't
Okay.
like printing out myself.
We have one printed. I might pass mine along to you, and then
Yeah.
I'll keep the PDF, but we'll figure it out. And Ann had a hand up. Ann?
No, I'm looking for it. I don't think where she-
Whoops.
Hi there.
Hi.
All I was gonna say is, when it comes to rec committee, I would like to share some things.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That'd be great.
Thanks, thanks.
Sure. All right, great. Senior services.
Senior Service did not meet this month, and that was because we have a big event coming up Thursday the 10th, a murder mystery, a 1920 marriage, and you can dress in part if you'd like to attend from 11 to 12. There will be food there, just have to call and sign up or go online. But also, our previous meeting, we had a lot of work done at the senior center. The electric was upgraded, so you now turn the lights on and off in 2 different sections. Trees were taken down, things were cleaned up outside, so we're moving along, programs are humming, people are very happy there.
That's great. There's another big issue that's come up about the taking down of the gas station, the garage in the back. So Nate's gonna, I think, bring that to you next month about that issue, because it's great space back there for the recreation to use if we can make it work. Okay, Parks and Recreation.
Well, and I'll allow Ann to jump in as well. Ann, Barb, and I met with Nate yesterday. Some of the highlights are on the website, poughkeepsienymyrec.com. One of some highlights, April 26th, townwide yard sale. This just says what would happen if we all had our yard sales on the same day get your spring cleaning done and maybe make a few bucks. And so the cost to participate is $30. This covers your permit, a spot on the master map and list, and a yard sale sign to the first 50 people who pick theirs up. And just imagine townwide, all of these yard sales. I think it's gonna be phenomenal.
I think we have 21 so far,
Oh, wow.
according to Nate, as of yesterday.
There's also highlighted earlier our first annual Town of Poughkeepsie Community Day. The flyers are on poughkeepsienymyrec.com. Spring break camp, the summer basketball league, YMCA free. Registration's going on now. Greenvale summer camp. And Nate also filled us on the works he was doing with the respective parks along with the crew. And I'll turn it over to Ann because she took some copious notes while Barb and I were driving. So.
All right, Ann.
Hi there. I guess the big news is that the fields are open, but I also saw that opening day is postponed, right?
Sadly, yes. It's too rainy this weekend, and the softball was gonna have opening day on Saturday, and I think they're all postponing for a week, so we're staying tuned for that date, the revised
Okay.
date.
So the fields are ready to go, though. The team, the rec department worked really hard to get them up and going and ready for opening day, but I guess we got another week to go. Community Day on May 10th. So we're gonna have, that's from 2 to 6 p.m. at Bowden Park. Bouncy houses, food trucks. There's gonna be some race cars from Dyson Racing, car seat safety check from the town of Poughkeepsie Police. 2 bands going on at 2 separate stages, clowns and touch a truck. So it's gonna be a great day. That's 2 to 6, 2 to 6 p.m. on May 10th. Ryan touched on the yard sale day, and just, keep looking for some new improvements at our local parks. The town is working very hard to upgrade some of the playgrounds as well as do a little bit of spring cleanup at each park. And that's all I had.
Great, thank you, Ann.
I was gonna mention about the Babe Ruth Parade because it came in after the last meeting.
Oh.
Is that gonna be canceled? Because it was scheduled for this Saturday, from
yes.
10:30 to 11:30.
I think so. As of this afternoon, Nate said that all the leagues are canceling their openings for this Saturday.
Okay, this was a
Both
parade, so
softball
maybe
and
I'll reach
baseball.
out to him and see if they're gonna do a different day or something.
We don't have a new date yet, but they decided that this Saturday looks too wet.
It does look pretty wet.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll give him a call, thanks.
All right, thank you. Anybody else for rec, Parkers from rec, does that cover everything? All right, I'm gonna do a super quick update on police courts. We're having internal meetings this week. We had a 3.5-hour meeting on Zoom with Labella, and we're following up this week with courts and police meetings that are basically on the level of how large does the janitorial closet in the traffic division have to be? We're way into the weeds. But that's the programming piece. So we understand exactly what is needed in both police and courts. And Labella is starting to do test fit for this site to see whether or what is gonna fit here. I think they're gonna be ready to come back and talk to us in about a week and a half about that. It looks like it's possible. We don't know what the cost will be. We don't know whether this is the plan we want to follow, but it's possible that the police and possibly even the police and courts might fit on this site. In which case, if that's the case, in a month, we need to start thinking about whether that's what we want to do. And if so, where is town hall going to go? So I just throw that out there for the whole board to think about. That's also the top item on our capital planning list. It just doesn't have a price tag attached to it yet. But we all agree that the police and courts facility is not appropriate as it is and that they need to move and we need a new location. So just giving a heads up that we're gonna get a lot of information over the next month or month and a half. And I think we're gonna wanna bring a lot of that to the board for a public conversation as we get more information from Labella. They're great to work with, I have to say. They've built police stations all over the state, big, small. I think they've built on mountaintops and in swamps, and I don't know, they're unfazed by anything. So we're like, yep, we can do this. So that's very comforting. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll see what kind of information they give us, and then the board's gonna have some big decisions to make. So, that's it for that, and liaisons, yes.
Can I?
Sure.
One piece of information for
Sure. Do you wanna come to the mic so you're so that people on Zoom can hear you?
On May 6, 7, and 8, New York State is having their preservation conference, and it's being held here in Poughkeepsie. Usually they've been holding them out in the western part of the state. And we're going to, our commission, well, 7 people on the commission are all going to be attending. We all got scholarships to go, so there's no cost for the town, and so we were very happy about that.
It's at the Grand Hotel, right?
It's at the Grand Hotel.
Well, it's not called the Grand now, but what was the Grand Hotel?
Doubletree.
Right, it's
Doubletree,
Doubletree
thank you.
now.
Yep.
And we're going to, all of our members, all of our commission members are going to be attending for the conference, and it's all paid for, so I just wanted to make the board aware that we'll be participating. And it also takes
Terrific.
care of our in-service for the commission, all in one shot.
That's great. And it's not a far drive. It's about a
Correct.
mile and a half,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, and no one needs a hotel room,
That's right, we
so.
don't need a
That's
hotel
really good.
rooms.
That's
No
great.
wild parties, John.
All right, thank you very much. We might have some folks who want to report on liaison reports, fire advisory, historic preservation. We already had a good history report.
Yeah.
Is there people, CAC, I don't know if Ann, if you wanted to report on the food scraps, recycling bins, Climate Smart, anybody who has reports on any of the liaison?
I'll start with the fire safety. We met yesterday, as a supervisor had informed you. As far as building goes right now, we're still doing the smoke detectors, carbon monoxide tests. We are gonna be posting, supervisor's got a newsletter that goes out weekly or monthly, and then we're gonna post it on our website, that the 10-year lifespan on both of those monoxide tests and smoke detectors, so you wanna get a new one, check on it after 10 years. We had a couple fires in the town recently in Arlington, and
2 house fires.
2 house fires and a fire at Vassar College. As far as I know, no one was hurt. We're still doing the building inspections, and Fred's doing a good job on that. And we possibly have a meeting coming up about the battery storage in June, if that works out, and it goes in, put together by the DC mayors and supervisors. Other than that, I think, Bill?
No, I think you covered it, Mike. Pretty
Okay,
well.
great.
Pretty well.
Oh, you had a question about the fire detectors. You want to tell people about the differences in the fire smoke detectors?
The differences in smoke detectors?
Yes.
You want to go ahead?
No, go ahead. You brought it up yesterday.
With, photoelectric, you mean, and
Yes.
sensory?
Mhm.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's some technical aspects of it, and we were talking about that in, Fairview, about their philosophy and informing homeowners, the difference between the number of different type of smoke detectors and and what the combination of each should be in the homes and should be in the residence, so that's something that Fairview is gonna start some education on, to the public about, which I think is wonderful, so.
It's great.
And
Okay.
also the involvement by the town, which is more aggressive of actually what has been done in the past but actually going into the buildings, going into the apartments, and then educating the public about that and educating the apartment owners about, the need for that really, which is, I think we've done a wonderful job in our building department, and also with Fairview, they're gonna try to tandem along with our building department, which I think is an excellent look, an excellent cooperation, so I
Great.
applaud that, thank you.
Okay, good. All right, any other liaisons who want to report from any other committee?
Could I say a few words on the CDAC? I mean, I'm appointed to the Community Development Advisory Committee.
Yes.
Which is county.
Oh,
and-
the county CDAC,
Right,
right.
and
I
I
was
don't-
panicking that I didn't know that committee, but it's a county committee. Okay, good.
Right, so I don't often talk about it, but we did have, and I'm gonna speak about it, because we did have some fairly, 2 meetings within the past 30 days, very extensive. On the main meeting, we did appoint, there's 13 projects we reviewed, and Sophia did an excellent job, and I couldn't vote on this actually, Mike, as you know, but, so we did receive some grant, but I did provide some input, because I thought it's not very sexy about sewers, but, you want it to work when you need it, right? So we did get some grant money, which I can't talk about the amount, for the North Grand Avenue Pump Station.
Oh, good. We have not, I think, officially received notice of that, so that's
Right,
good to know.
So that's on the way. The other component of the CDAC is the Home Investment Partnership Program. So of the 2025 applications we reviewed, there were 5. And there is some money coming in for the 37 Raymond Avenue development, which, I can talk about a little bit later with, the board members or the supervisor, but, so that's something that I don't think is on the permit radar yet, but there is some development money for that, which is great because, it's a multi-use building, which I think is very good, so that was one of the criteria. So exciting stuff in the CDAC.
Terrific. I'm glad that you serve on that. That's great.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to remind people about the Climate Smart Task Force. We are participating at an Earth Day event put out by Dutchess County. That's Saturday, April 26th from 10 to 1 at Vassar Barn. And we will be there with electric landscaping equipment. And I brought what is it called? A decibel meter. So we'll see if they're a lot quieter. We'd like to measure that. And we also have a Tempestry project on April 15th at the Boardman Road Library from 6 to 8. And that is a project that you could go on to check it out. Tempestryproject.com, not tapestry, but as in temperature. And they do some knitting and yarn work with different colored yarns representing the average annual temperature year by year. And then they will put it like in a little tapestry, and it shows different colors for climate change. It's really cool. So that's at the Boardman Road Library, April 15th from 6 to 8. And I'm so excited that we're so close to purchasing our electric vehicles and electric lawn equipment. So
We're close.
let's do that.
Okay, good. Anybody else? All right, we are giving food scrap bins away to those folks who have already signed up to get one, and I think we're poised to start opening up to other folks who might want to get one. And I want to thank Ann Berger for her role in that. We've given away a lot, and there's more yet to go. I could thank Pam Kingsley, but she's not here now. All right, I would move that we suspend the rules in order to allow comment for up to 3 minutes on anything not on the agenda that anyone would like to speak about. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, then we are open. Doreen, welcome.
Thank you. So I heard a lot of talk about grants tonight. Have you seen any effects yet from, what we're hearing about federal grants being slashed? Have you seen anything yet about that affecting anything in the town?
It's a little unclear. I've talked with folks at some different nonprofits locally too, and what happened is a long period of, well, the money's gone, no, it's not, yes, it's there, no, it's not. But it looks like grants that were committed before the end of last year, the courts are requiring that be fulfilled. There's a guy who runs, I think, the Ronnie Book Farm out in the eastern part of the county. They had done $600,000 worth of solar. They put in a solar array with a federal grant, and then the money wasn't going to show up after they'd spent it all. So in those situations, it looks like the money's coming in. The money for our EVs we confirmed last week is there. So it looks like the funds that were already committed are coming in the door. What the longer term situation is a little unclear.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anybody else?
Sorry, I'm gonna jump in like the.
That's fine. I'll give you 3 minutes, right?
Yes. I wanted to let you know that I went down as the council person for Ward 2 to present a proclamation from the town to Ben Stofsky. He and his teammates placed, wait till you hear this, bronze place in the Special Olympics for a sport called floorball. Oh. And I asked Ben and his team members after I gave him the proclamation, why isn't it called floor hockey anymore? He said, that sport was getting a bit too rough. So with floorball, it's just like floor hockey, but a round ball. And they were in Italy for 2 weeks playing at the Special Olympics.
And they won bronze.
So they won bronze, and Ben himself and his head coach, and I think another assistant coach will be coming up from Westchester. He is a resident of town of Poughkeepsie Ward 2. So we will be also celebrating him and his teammates here on the 16th.
So at the beginning of our next meeting, we'll do a commendation here. Most of the team's in Westchester, but he lives in Ward 2 of the town of Poughkeepsie, so we'll recognize him and the coaches.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you, everybody. We learned a lot tonight. Our brains are full. Thank you, and I move that we adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Then we are adjourned at 8:46 PM, it looks like. Have a great night.